Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, Tuesday, July 16th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi. Continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there that make it your business to enhance and fortify this wonderful concept called public access. So the um, acknowledgement of that which allows us to entertain the ideas of having that wide, stable stage in the shape of the concept that is consisted of 100% positivity and 100% sturdiness of decency, which we need so much. We know that very well when it comes into the equation of hoping for the best and directly or indirectly finding yourself engaged in the process of adding and improving and contributing and making things kind of more looking more promising and reassuring. Um, and I, as an artist, as an active artist that I consider myself to be, I don't look for the. Uh, I don't look for the conditional, and for that which guarantees me the right of way of participation and the uh, consistency of having the right mood, even if you're not in the mood, kind of thing. And if you're an artist, you will understand what I'm talking about. To go to your studio and to find yourself feeling in a complete different way than what you have anticipated or what you have expected. And it happens to be a lot, meaning on my way to that sacred zone of mine, and um, and then on my way out of that, and not to mention the level of complexity as we actually find ourselves engaging in deep into that concept that gives us a the right environment and the right conditions um, to feel happy really about. The other day, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine that I value his opinion, especially when it comes to the deli- delicate situation between, like you yourself and you're alone in the studio, and the world is out there, and you're trying to shed all these kind of um, weight that doesn't necessarily make you feel creative and inspired, um, and then realizing how difficult it is to change the nature of nature and the nature of things. Um, but but the direct engagement is always a cure for these a remedy for these sensations that suddenly show up just as much as they suddenly disappear. The world is a crazy place to live in, but also the world is a wonderful place to live in. And so many people out there with goodwill that want to put in place the right attitude, the right face expression, the right level and amount of willingness to contribute and to show the kind of level of responsibility and to engage. And in that sense, is I don't know. I don't hear that many people talk enough about that. The fact that the people are so willing, and but for some reason we have the tendency to depict ourselves as lazy and irresponsible or disregarding, and that we don't care, and again that we're selfish, but we're not. Yeah, the proof is in the display of engagement of individuals from all over the world. And the magic involved in this scenario is that we're all doing the same thing. When you're an artist and you desire to create and decide to create and do something about it and find yourself actually in the midst of it, uh, it doesn't matter which part of the world you find yourself in. It's the same kind of level of engagement. It's the same kind of procedure, the same kind of process. It's painfully universal. Luckily for us, that it's like kind of one size fits all, but in a very weird way, because nothing seems to be like one size. But for some reason, it serves the variety of sizes and brings everything under the same umbrella of camaraderie and some kind of a natural reassurance one towards the other. So and yes, the other day when I heard the news about what's happening with the attempt to assassinate the former President Trump, and that saddened me. It saddened me that we have to kind of face ourselves in the in from within this center that's supposed to guarantee us nothing but positive engagement and nothing but a promising uh, result, and nothing but a yielding core of energy, and 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 making our lives as willing artists, willing creative individuals that ready to engage, making our lives easier, and making the process that usually is very demanding, making it appealing and gentle and easy to handle. I always thought that to be a part of this kind of zone of creativity, it always comes with a price. You always nothing will go smooth. Everything is demanding and challenging, and it can be harsh environment. You're in the midst of the most sweet, rewarding reality, yet the taste of it, the feel of it is anything but easy, and nothing such as a smooth ride. It's always a depiction of the moment unfolding, and of course you are going nowhere in that scenario because you are either following the chain of events or the chain of events follow you. And a long time ago, I already realized that consistency is really more like refined stubbornness that we find to be very useful. And early on in my journey, I was like pressing on forward, stubborn, hit your head against the wall. I always thought about this concept of hitting your head against the wall. It's like, what sense does it make? But you're trying to make a point, a metaphoric point, and you want to kind of repeat these sluggish motions because you know that at the end of the road, at the end of the day, it yields, and and you realize that you prevailed. You realize that you somewhat broke through. You realize that you're closer to your goal, even if your goal might be very kind of fictional and almost borderline unreal. The the style through which and in which we find ourselves as people. Forget about the fact that I want to kind of crown everyone as artists and declare, which I believe with, with my whole heart, that like Picasso said once, of course we're all artists and kids are wonderful artists. It's just and how do we make sure that they will remain one as they as become adults? For some reason, that early stages of adulthood robs them from their talent, from their capabilities, a mystery. Yeah. Maybe it's because they become aware of their place in the world. And maybe because they really realize suddenly that they have to fend for themselves. Maybe because suddenly they realize that the level of responsibility is daunting and doesn't leave much time for creativity and creations and painting and playing music. But so they never took under consideration, or their parents never took under consideration how to fill this void, how to prepare, and how to reduce the chances that adulthood will kind of stand in your way of personal growth and personal journey of creativity. And it's it's yeah, I guess that brainwashing aspect of it all, as a parent, that you're going to tell your kid, don't let me tell you how much I think of you when it comes to you holding a brush or a crayon or anything of such, and draw and paint and go about your way doing your thing. It's like we need to understand the fact behind us being in the background and with the least amount of words, allowing the kids to do what they know how to do best, shedding themselves from the potential um, grown upness that inevitably stands in their way. Many situations you can describe, but you cannot explain, and this is one of them. But as parents, how many parents do you know that really look them in the eye and say, "You are going to continue"? If only because we are going to make sure that we're going to serve as your shadow of security and fortification, especially spiritual fortification. If anything, if you want your kids to prevail, talk to them about spiritual without getting into the definition of what spiritual is. Just make them enjoy hearing the word spiritual. Make them enjoy hearing themselves saying the word spiritual. So that spiritual engagement is a guarantee that they can import with them into their early stages of adulthood, their wonderful, immense, unlimited capability of that level of cleanliness that allows them to go into the zone that defines what being an artist and what is the level of engagement and responsibility that comes along with it, and how much you can prevail or not, and how much you can make a difference and do something about it, and find yourself actually uh, uh, succeeding in making sure that they are on the right path. But the right path is too rigid. It's more like making sure that their level of that mental cleanliness uh, um, is kept intact, and serving them unconditionally as they enter that domain, the adultish domain. Also, to understand how overwhelming it is to snap out of their childhood, out of this positive abyss, I call it, that make make it a given for them. But of course, they're going to be. But of course, they are. Uh, but of course, they already always been. And of course, on the surface, the translation of it all is this, is that, is this and that. is I saw my daughter's paintings lately, and I was absolutely floored. And and I had to remind myself before I react is that it's not anything special. It's just like what she's supposed to be able to do, and she's doing. And immediately I caught myself saying, "Oh my God, is this going to go away and fade into the thin air? Is this is going to go away as if it was never here to begin with?" So, so I caught myself feeling sad about it all and feeling challenged in the sense that, I need to do something about it. How can you allow this to go away? So I think I'm past the stage of wondering how come, because I managed to describe it to myself in a very chunky way, in a very unsophisticated way, in a very unpuzzling way, in a very unconfusing way, and in a very maybe unsophisticated way because sophistication is all over the place. So my daughter created a pattern that adults would have to rationalize this meticulously before they'll be able to do it. Even those who are great artists and those who never held a brush in their hands or whatever else. Uh, it's spelled meticulousness. It's spelled you cannot do that without deep thinking and deep regard and pure attention. You cannot do that. But of course, you can do that because you see the result. If you have a 7 year old or a 9 year old and they're creating something wonderful and they're consistent about it, uh, it's a no brainer. You don't need to guess what's going on. Something wonderful is happening. And that something wonderful your 8 year old or 9 year old is responsible for. So I learned that actually engaging in a conversation with your kid is something awesome. Like, you want to know, how did you do it? How did you do it? Tell me, how did you do it? How did you draw it? How did you paint it? What so and the kids most probably will not be able to give you an answer. I mean, even if they were to give you an answer, it will be one answer full of questions. And so you have to ask them the question, and in the same token, give them the tools to have an organized answer, a coherent answer, a viable answer, a clear answer, a simple answer, an informative answer. And so many phases to it actually come as one package. And it comes as one package to tell us that this level of complexity is self-sustained and self-managed, and it's what's the word I'm trying to look for? Um, um, Self-contained. Um, there's one that I'm missing that I want to say so much. Um, you kind of unknowingly self-taught, and it spells magic all over the place. Now, look, we live in a world where people are out there shooting people are out there loving people are out there reasonable with people are out there unreasonable at all, people are out there harsh with people are out there good with people are good natured, hard natured, bad natured. uh, People are of all the kind of descriptions that you can imagine in a mix and match living out there. They're living amongst us, they're living all the way outside of us, all over the place. They are those whom we know for them to be who they are, and those whom we know nothing of what makes them who they are and what they're all about, and the learning process. Uh, and even if you find out something terrible about someone you know, someone you don't know, or you just met, still there's a way to dissipate the level of severity and come down to earth and say, wait a second, And what am I doing? Or what am I about to do? And kind of find yourself and catch yourself just a moment before it yields itself to be used and by others, and therefore to end up not being uh, the that which you can use for your own benefit or your own purpose. And you learn in the early stages, as you give away, as you give to, and as you contribute and donate and make it available to others, it spells it's not mine anymore. It probably will not be mine anymore. And the whole reality unfolding of replenishing, the value of replenishing, the challenge of replenishing, the necessity of replenishing. Things like that you can achieve with your kids, this kind of understanding that will serve as a guarantee for maybe increasing the chances of keeping their talent and their capability of painting as they are slowly but surely being introduced into the world of maturity, uh, becoming grown-ups. So all this level of and potential complexities, and boy oh boy is it complex, are become self-explanatory, become obvious, and become accessible. And also, above all, it was always accessible and always at our disposal, always available, always without conditions, always um, um, uh, definitely not scarce, available. Uh, so I don't know if it's because our eyes are shut or not wide open or not open enough or not open wide enough. But there is a reason of why we keep on missing it and we keep on finding out that it's right there, for God's sake. So what is it? It's not like we have a problem of being able to notice because we know about the essence of it very well. So it cannot spell that we are not able to notice because our realizations come especially based on being able to notice mainly. So we cannot think for a second that we don't notice, and therefore that's the reason. Because if anything we notice, if anything we care, if anything we desire to do something about it, if anything we're loving, if anything we're responsible, if anything we are the one that make it our business to create and serve, uh, um, uh, as an by by being who you are. This is how you show them. This is how you show the world. This is how you show your kids. And when you show your kids, you show the world. They're going to be grown up. I mean, I have conversations with them and I tell them, do you know what it means? Do you know what kind of a unique power you're acquiring and earning and adapting to when you make these decisions? I want to hold this brush. The other half of the world will say, well, this is pathetic. The other half of the world will say, this is fantastic. The other half of the world will say, this is useless. The other half of the world will say, this is absolutely useful and how lucky we are. And none of the sides that believe in two different things is guaranteed to be uh, shielded and protected from finding themselves believing completely differently the following day. Nothing guarantees us this kind of level of conviction that nothing will happen or can happen to, uh, uh, make us like realize that things are changed dramatically, and you have a feeling you will never get to know and find out how come and what made it, what caused it to happen. The the unique aspect of this description lies adjacent to the fact that we need to get that crash course from our kids which we don't seem to be getting, don't seem to be able to even think of why why this is important, or to begin with, that indeed it is important, and knowing a little bit about why you feel or think that it is, and then finding out a lot quickly enough what the reasons are. What is the reason that holds hands with that which we find out that we can do about it, to change its nature or to add to its nature, and to make it compatible therefore with our desire or willingness to engage. Because it's not enough to say to your friends or to your kids or to your family, hey, listen, so and so, such and such, this and that and this, talking about goodwill, talking about what I noticed, what I want, what I think, what I feel, talking about you and I and you and us, talking about the importance of interaction, of showing goodwill in place, of showing um, that which speaks for the reality of predictability. It's okay, people work very hard to create that kind of, oh, she's predict. People, I don't know, they cannot help themselves when they use the word predictable to sound as if it's something not so good necessarily, because they obviously did not reach a point where they can feel comfortable enough with what it is that they're doing that happens to be creative in that engagement. And in that engagement, they um, find out more about uh, the specific demeanor meticulously. And that demeanor is like make it or break it in our lives, in our world. Uh, what is it that you brought with you the other day as you entered and faced the crowd? What is it that you said or behaved that you cannot take back, and now you have to kind of deal with a situation that you have created yourself that is so unnecessary, and is robbing you from essential time for your creations to take place and happen. People don't realize that with all the goodwill in the world, and if you're really, really already there in thought and in meaning, if you don't have the time, if you cannot make the time, it's not going anywhere. It's useless. Who's going to do it? Who's going to do? Who's going to execute? There are artists that I know personally that 90% of the work they don't do themselves. They don't feel any shame or any less than they should feel about themselves as artists. They think that they're great. They think that what they're doing is nothing wrong with what they're doing, and they think that it's okay and normal to say, "Hey, you come here, have 3, 4 people uh, engaging together, and and you're giving them their chores and their responsibilities, and you like kind of conducting, and think that just because you're a conductor, everything is excusable." I don't necessarily think so, but I'm not the one who's going to tell them that they're wrong and that they shouldn't do it. Uh, because if I was to see the end result, I won't be wondering who did it or who didn't. I would assume, rightfully so, that the artist that just invited me to this exhibition is responsible for it. I would rather not hear the details that are irrelevant about who did how much and all this. But when I go to their studio, I went to my studio's friend, I think it was last year, very unique artist. Yeah. But I realized that he's not doing a lot of the work. There's so much help that he has around. And I was wondering to myself, okay, well, he's my friend, so he won't be hiding or trying to tell me, a, you know, a ridiculous story about something that is not. So, so I'm realizing, obviously, he's not trying to hide that a lot of people doing the work for him, And now and then, as he's engaging with me and trying to make me a cup of coffee and chat a little bit, because after all, I did come and visit him in the studio. He was shooting orders or saying, "Oh, move that square and put it next to the red circle there, and bring that blue weird looking triangle down to the left corner," and all this. So yeah, well, I mean, nothing major happened. I mean, it's not like he gave them the trophy. It's not like they were stuck. They couldn't know what to do, where to go, and what to do with what they have, and where to go with what they have. That happens to be supposedly things that the artist created, and he hired him to join him in order to take off the burden from him. For him, it was more technical by nature. I'm too old, I'm too tired, whatever it is, to do this anymore. But I will create the ingredients. I just want you to put it together for me. That level of trickiness, just as much as it is in life. You cannot just like create mayhem and think that it won't take some doings to fix it, to replace it, to improve it. There's no way. There's no way you create chaos and think, okay, I'm gonna go have a cup of tea, and when I come back, it's not gonna be there anymore. So I told him, my friend, I said, aren't you feeling strange that you have so much help? Don't you want to be the one who's doing it, A to Z? He said, well, I've done it enough years. I don't need to prove to myself. So I said, what is it that you describe or believe or understand as proving? We're proving what? And if you're not proving, then what is it that you're not proving? As you so clearly, meticulously know about proving. So what is the opposite of it? I have nothing more to prove. Don't understand it. Just like in life, what? Suddenly you have nothing more to prove but how good of a person you are, and how helpful and how selfless and how contributing and how giving you are. I mean, what? So suddenly you think because you've done so much and had so much and have so much, then you're not required to continue, head held held high and and and, and focusing forward and maintaining that level of focus and in clarity. What? It's going to be self-sustaining. It's going to be what? Moving on its own behalf. Yeah, well, maybe it is, but for how long? And what? No, what? No more. No maintenance required. Uh, so what? No attention needed. Well, yeah, I acknowledge that you have earned a lot, but it's not even nearly enough to say that I can step aside and all. But I don't think that there is such a thing that is will allow you to decide. Well, yeah, you can decide as whatever you want, but will allow you to continue to grow and still, in the same token, deciding that you're just like stepping aside. I remember that once Jim Chapin uh, told me the story. I took lessons with Jim Chapin, and he was a good friend of mine and a legend, a wonderful legend that taught me a lot about how not to mess with my talent. So one of the best drummers in the world cautioned me not to not to find a teacher, not to look for a teacher. They're gonna mess with your talent. It's too raw and it's too fantastic to be touched or to be manipulated. He didn't say manipulated. He said that which eventually will lead for it to be manipulated. It's inevitable in that sense, in that style. And I looked at him and I said, I don't need to think more than that. Look, the master of all masters is telling me something about me. Thank you, thank you. I love you, I love you. I appreciate, I appreciate. Yes, indeed appreciated. And I took that with me. And I took it through all the zone of disregard, the feeling of disregard and selfishness and don't touch me and don't get too close to me, and this is my immediate space and vicinity that happens to be sacred. Maybe you have no room, no say, no right to enter and to become a part of it, with all the goodwill that you can put on display right now. So, what is it that you're finding out? You're finding out that you didn't look hard enough, you didn't look into it long enough, and you thought about yourself too much while you were thinking about others. Yourself is too much in the way of achieving that level of freedom, the liberty to define and redefine who you are and what you're all about all the time on a regular basis, and therefore understanding the world around you smoother and more like um, as one should feel and realize when one is putting in place that I hate to say mask, but covering that helps you maybe be able to hear your own hum in a very um, personal, intimate fashion, and maybe take that kind of idea of intimacy and discuss it with your kids, because it's going to be that level. It's going to be an intimacy that will make it or break it for them as artists, especially as artists. How I wanted to know, and I want to know all the time when I look at my kids and look at their art, and they say, "Okay, this wasn't here just a minute ago." And if your daughter say, "Oh, Papa," or "Papa," or "Daddy," can you grab me a glass of water? I'm thirsty. And you go and you bring the water and you come, and you knew there was nothing there before, and it's a matter of a couple of minutes, and then you realize wonderful drawing, wonderful, colorful brush strokes, and I don't even want to attempt to describe what it took. What because I'm translating it through my ability slash inability to 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 share with you that I can or cannot do it. I don't even know if I can or cannot do it. I don't even know if I cannot or can do it. I don't even know. Very complex, very tricky. So the discussion or the potential discussion, because obviously I'm not going to have a serious discussion as I really want it to be with my 9-year-old. Not that she's not capable or not smart or bright, talented. Of course she is, but it's not going to happen. Not the way that I would insist. It's like setting myself to fail and to be disappointed, which I don't want to do it. And if I can see the signs coming ahead of time, I will avoid it and prevent it from happening, as I should. But my the questions I demand to know what the heck, what, where, how come, what's going on. I demand to know what's going on. This is too fantastic for me to just let it go and just enjoy. I enjoy and then enjoy and enjoy even more. And now after I enjoyed so much, enjoyed even more and enjoyed even more, now I want explanations. But who am I going to ask for these explanations from? Who? You would say, well, the one who created it, the one who did it. But in my mind, I'm wasting my time thinking in this way. I'm more like engaged with Mother Nature, that is an observer, a partner observer, an observer partner, an observing partner with me about these issues, an equal, even a compatible partner. Uh, so the the answer, the revelation, the discovery will come through that immediate, direct interaction and involvement with Mother Nature. I mean, it sounds very simple, but it's very profound. And you don't realize it until you give yourself enough of a break, kind of thing, to imagine the extent of its uh, of the changing faces and face expressions, and and so much more, that just because you're in your tender years, you're not required to second guess or to think or to contemplate too much, because then it stands in the way of you living the meaning of fluency. That yes, the world around you doesn't is not a different world than the world of the adult person that is next to you and with you, whether it's just an adult next to you, or your dad next to you, or your brother next to you, or your family member next to you. How engaging and how demanding, and I keep on saying demanding, but it's demanding in the face of maybe actually more playful than one would think it is. More playful than one would think it to be. And and then, of course, at the end of the day, at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the journey, at the end of the passage, there are revelations. And you also learn how to just sit back and enjoy, and have the tools to contemplate and to find out and to look deeper into it, and to draw more relevation, that which is relevant. Because even if you know about it all, and maybe even if you know about all that there is that you need to know in order to keep it going and learn from it and make it happen and be successful, still, when it comes in real time on the surface, it's suddenly you cannot utter a word, and this is live, and you know that time is ticking, and you don't have unlimited amount of time, and you're panicking. and, and you're very concerned that you find yourself in this kind of scenario, challenged by something that is not so familiar. All your challenges so far were very, very familiar, you know? And now it's a mystery, and you can't find yourself necessarily knowing how to decipher, because so far, because of your tender age, deciphering was more like a natural process. With every action you take yourself, it's a natural process. Amazing. And I have and am going through this sweet process of engagement. It happens to be engagement with your kids, which happens to be the best if you're lucky enough to have that in your life. Oof, how sweet, how rewarding, um, how challenging, and how wonderful to be inseparable part of it all as a given, as you know, as a second nature. So marching forward into that which is that which comes across as a revelation. Oh boy, I didn't sleep much last night. It's only like 3.5 hours, so I'm surprised that I don't yawn more often now. but I'm definitely tired. But not so tired that I cannot actually share with you my reservations when it comes to this scenario unfolding constantly, upon which the world relies on to continue its own growth and its own development of exploration, and and expansion, and having that kind of an enlargement of all the things that you know yourself for sure that are positive and and just simply straightforward, simply delicious. So I, I and it reminds me of a poem that I thought, what was it? The About the journey and about the struggles and about triumphing and about sweet challenges and harsh challenges and just the back and forth that create that swing that that is responsible for a center that is absolutely not uh, up for discussion. It's not. There's certain things that must be the way they are in order to guarantee the continuation of structure. Like when we do all the way from triola and double stroke and single stroke and paradiddle, they like so it's just a pattern. Doesn't have to be something. Oh, what did he do? So talented, so beautiful. No, a statement, a pinpointed evaluation that you can find yourself actually very intimate with, very close to, like you own it with a level of conviction, but it goes hand in hand with that which you can immediately at any given time put on display and set as an example. You can make it longer, shorter. You can make it with more accents, less accents, but it's there. It's just so just with the one, and it's funny that you can find the one everywhere you want to place the one, you can find it. It's as much as it can be elusive. It's not elusive at all. It's always visible. It's always where it can be found. Now, if you think about the poem, yes, it's just a rhythm. It's just a motion, and it's just sensing forward, backward, sideways, and it has the colors and it has the changing aspects of it in in the shape and in the fashion that you allow it to be. And these are kids if you're with kids. And I'm not talking about the cliche aspect of working with kids. I can't stand the concept when people are thinking that when they if they're going to now embark on engagement with kids, now they have to change their demeanor because they're kids. Huge mistake. But on the other hand, you cannot expect people to just work with kids and just pretend like this is the lovey doviness of adulthood. This is major challenges. This is major challenges. But these challenges should be tackled head on in your own free time outside the perimeter of the live action in the midst of this action and interaction, and it doesn't allow itself to grow outside of its formation unless you are willing to put a straight face and the right attitude in place to say one and the same, 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 one and the same. Just like the rhythm that you change, and the rhythm that you decide to change, and the rhythm that you decide to change that you never change, and the rhythm that you decide not to change that you always change, but it's still a rhythm and it's still with that level of compassion, regard, respect, and predictability and technique oriented to create the subject matter to come to life. Do you think kids cannot understand it? If you think kids cannot relate to it, then you better think again. Of course they do. Now, can you come through the back door that happens to be the door that's in the back of your front view, actually marching into the face to face meeting that happens to be a revelation that you're going to end up meeting yourself? This is the yourself that you're just about to meet, to encounter, to bump into. So the poem, in the midst of its writing, and I think no, I don't think I have it. No, maybe I have it here. Maybe. Let me see. And uh, it's not something that I would um, that I would mm, oh yeah, maybe yes. Maybe indeed it's here. Oh really? Okay. Just an example. Okay, so this is a one out of one out of 100. This is one out of yeah 1 out of 100. Number 49. Grinding the numbers behind the final count. Brief, slow motion reach after reach gets closer. Before it was a strap of an unknown hour. But you let it go with so much grace. I draw with hope the line to an increasing value. Meeting lane, houses on the hill. It grieved the feel of getting closer to pain, or even a draw in the attempt to the challenge. On with bare hands and popping veins, no matter what place they took, with the blood pumping life. A moment ago, you weren't there. Maybe coming back extended the justifications to breathe with resolve. And then, before finally the race slows down to become a pleasant, fast walk into that which shines with cause, a familiar conviction made it clear we will never be the no holds bar of the upcoming ultimate chore. The gathering in the place of holy shone all the way down, all the way down the slope of Mary, through the heart by now transparent, yet keeps us all alive, no doubt about it. So, so you get into that kind of imaginary top or like preliminary top, and then you celebrate your advantages verbally. How easy can, how much easier can it get than that? Because if you already got to that height, doesn't be the highest, but it's high. It's up there. It's an achievement, and you have to acknowledge it as such. So how can you already achieve that preliminary height before anything even started yet? What an advantage! And cause and create the ingredients and the circumstances to make you or to make it end up as being disadvantaged doesn't make sense. Exactly the opposite should happen. Whether it happens or not, that's a whole discussion itself. But it's a no brainer. That means I want to reiterate the obvious, to say, okay, you know what? That's crazy. You need to change. You need to take another look, and this one is going to be a closer look, even though all the other times that you did it were close looks. You looked at it closely, meticulously, and then you find out. But then I don't know what went wrong, but something went wrong. You have to look again and again and again until you achieve that level of comfort within, hopefully, simplicity that will be eventually unconditionally responsible for sophistication and for the ability to so casually manipulate in order to further your cause. And that cause is self realization. So much so that the company that you keep in the shape of your own kids or kids, period, will be so meaningful. Any kind of engagement that will take place on behalf of this interaction will be so meaningful that you won't be able to explain it really. This will be your indication of triumphing, that you're finding yourself not being able to explain it and describe it. Even though if you were to attempt, you probably will be able to, but it doesn't just flow out of you. So you leave it alone. You know you're doing well. Don't mess with it. Let it be. Let it do its own thing, even though now and then participating and interfering and influencing is not a bad idea at all. Want to send you all my love out there and my gratitude, and thank you for being patient. If you're the ones who actually survived through this last 1 hour, then I commend you. And we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we're here this morning, Tuesday morning, July 16th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and, of course, the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Don't be a stranger. We have lots of activities here at the corridors of LTV, and, and make it your business to come and see us and visit us and maybe benefit in ways that you're not aware of as we speak. God bless. Thank you. And we'll talk to you soon.